Oh yeah, sun's shining again. It would appear spring is almost here. We're back, we're doing the bonnet, we're still doing it. Still doing it. We're making progress though. Let's see where we're at. As you can see, we've got some walls up now, ready for our moulds. So she's had 7 coats of wax. So she is nice and shiny, good to go. Next job then is to build the walls ready for doing our moulds. So we're going to try and take this thing in 4 parts. Obviously you can't make a fiberglass mould in 1 part because you'll never get it back off again. There's different angles in it, and if you just do it in 1, you'll have a hell of a job trying to get it off. So you want to do it in as many parts as you can, because it makes your life easier when you come to demould it. So we're going to do this one in 4 parts. The top's going to be 1 part, left's going to be 1 part, right's going to be 1 part, and then this entire front section all the way down to the fin at the bottom is going to be 1 part. So this part come off that way, top come off that way, and the left and right respectively. So we use this stuff. This is 3mm fiberboard. This is like the stuff that you get in cheap furniture, backs of drawer linings, backs of wardrobes, etc. It's crap for anything other than this, but it's quite cheap, and it has a shiny side and a fibre side. So this is the shiny side, and the other side obviously has this fibrey textured side. So when we're making our moulds, we obviously want the shiny side to go up against with our fiberglass, because that's going to give us a nice flat surface and it's going to come off nice and easily. So we use hot glue, just stick along the edge. Doesn't matter, obviously this has been waxed, so that glue's going to pop off. In fact, trying to get this thing to actually stick to it with hot glue is a bit of a nightmare because, again, we've waxed it. So we goob a load of hot glue all the way along it, a couple of fins there just to hold it up in the air, and then in the gaps, you might not be able to see it, we use a bit of plasticine. Get in there, poke it down inside, drag it along with a screwdriver just to clean it up. That fills the gap nicely. That means that when we come to lay our gel coat in, it's not going to run down the edge when we come up against this lip here. Obviously once that top part has been gel coated and fiberglassed, we can then take these wooden walls off, and that will leave us with a nice flange sticking up in the air, which we then go back up against with the other flange. At the end, once we've got our flanges, we drill some holes in it and then pass bolts through it. These become our keys to make sure that when we put our mould back together, it lines up perfectly. As soon as you drill a hole through 2 halves, obviously it's easy to line up because your bolt holes have to line up. If we look at a fiberglass mould we made a while ago, this is the top of a speeder bike from Return of the Jedi. You can see we've got a nice flange there with 2 bolt holes in it. You can see the joining gap on the underside of the mould down there. And you can see it's gel coated in orange. So typically you want your gel coat to be a nice bright colour, not like the colour you're going to make the final product out of. So if your final product was going to be white, you'd want to use black, for example, or a bright colour. The idea being, when your mould's finished and you've got it flipped upside down and you're laying your fiberglass into it, if you've got a nice bright colour, you'll be able to see that colour through your resin, so you can see where any thin spots are afterwards. If you've got big bright orange patches poking through, you know you need to go and put a bit more glass in there. Just makes it a bit easier on the eye.
Right, excuse the noise of the lawnmower. We are ready. All our plasticine beads are in. Our walls are waxed. Our plasticine is waxed. Remove all the dust. We are now ready to mix our gel coat and slap it on. So this is our gel coat. Polyester gel coat. It's essentially like a paint. Catalyzes with your standard MEKP catalyst, same as you'd use for polyester resin. And we're just going to paint it on. Stick it into a big bucket, paint it on with a big brush. 2 layers of gel coat, and then we can start putting our matte and our glass on. Okay, first layer on. Gel coat.
Now, I may have said we were doing it in orange before. Forgot to buy pre-pigmented gel coat. We got the clear stuff, so I used whatever I had, and what I've got a lot of is olive drab. So it's olive drab. But again, it makes sense because the final product coming out of the mould is going to be white. So as long as my final product, my white, contrasts with my mould colour, dark green, then it does its job. I'll be able to see through the mould and see where any thin bits are. That's all we're doing. It doesn't really matter. You don't even have to pigment your mould at all, your gel coat. It's just, you know, you may as well. You're going to put gel coat on anyway, you may as well have it a colour. So, olive green, olive drab, British racing green, whatever you want to call it. That's our gel coat layer on. And as you can see, you literally just brush it on. We're going to do another layer on top of that, because as you can see, there's brush marks in it, because it's very thick, very viscous. It goes off very quickly. It takes about 20 minutes to go off completely, and it's taken me about 15 minutes to brush that in by hand. So you're not leaving yourself a lot of work time there. You're always fighting a battle. Again, excuse the noise of the mower. You're always fighting a battle when you are using anything with a catalyst in it, such as fiberglass, gel coat, etc., resins. Because if you're going to be putting multiple layers on, you want your work time to be as short as possible. What you don't want to do is put a layer on and then have to stand around with your thumb in your ass for an hour, poking it, waiting for it to go off before you can put your second layer on. That's not a good use of your time. Obviously, if there's other things you can be doing in that time, fine. But if there's not, if it's your sole task, you know, you're not only waiting an hour between coats, you want to be waiting 10, 15, 20 minutes. Of course, the flip side of that is if you're over-catalysing it, it ends up going off before you get a chance to put it on, and you get wasted products, half-finished thing, you have to mix up more, go again, and it can be a pain in the ass. So you're always fighting that battle of how much catalyst do I put in, how much work time am I going to have, how much do I need? And that is directly dependent on, obviously, A, how much catalyst you put in. Gel coat, I go 2%, so 2% by weight. So that was a 500 gram bucket of gel coat, so we put 10 grams of catalyst in. Obviously 500 grams, 5 grams would be 1%, 10 grams is 2%, I believe. That's what we did anyway. And it's very temperature dependent as well. In here in the summer, in this nice, you know, wooden roofed shed thing we've got, it obviously gets very hot in here in the summer. So your work times in the summer can get cut in half. If it was summer right now, I'd put 1% in, and even then I'd have to go like the clappers to get it on before it started going off. Winter time, I could put 3-4% in, get it on, and I'd probably have an hour in between coats to go. So it's an exothermic reaction when you put MEKP catalyst into any of your polyester resins, so therefore it's temperature dependent. The catalyst heats up as it goes, and your ambient temperature heats the catalyst. If you ever want to kick catalyst off, if you put it on and it's not going and it's still tacky, you get a heat gun. You go over it with a heat gun and that will kick it off again, start the reaction, because again, it's an exothermic reaction. With me? Cool. So, gel coat on. So I'm going to wait for that to go off, mix up a second batch of gel coat, get that on as well. That will then be our gel coat done. Then we can start mixing up big buckets of polyester resin, ripping up our chop strand mats, and we can start laying it in, rolling it through, and starting to build up a nice glass layer onto this. That's the Bossman's Chevrolet 80 square body. Bit big for me. It's huge. These things are huge. What is it with you Americans in your big bloody cars? This thing is absolutely huge. It's longer than a T4 camper van. I don't know. And it's a V8. And then of course out on the driveway. There she is. First trip out for the spring. Looking nice. It's so nice to actually drive that car again. As soon as the sun's out and it starts getting warm, I'm just like, let's get the car out. Right, anyway, let's go. 4 hours later, first layer of glass is on. Getting in around that scoop is a nightmare. As soon as you roll it under, it just wants to unpeel itself again. You have to sit there and keep poking it and prodding it, waiting for it to start to go off until it becomes more viscous. But we're pretty good. Nice bead of resin down our gutters just to make sure it grabs in there perfectly. All our walls are done. Okay, 2 coats. I think 2 coats is going to be enough. We have got about a 3mm thickness there. And as far as fiberglass goes, that is surprisingly strong. I'm anticipating this to be a single-use mould, just to get my one out of it. You know, I don't think anyone else is going to want one, so it's only got to survive one moulding. And obviously when it's all bolted together with all the shapes in it, it'll be nice and strong. The only bit that's going to be a bit floppy will be that back edge there and along where the scuttle tray goes. So I may add a bit more glass into that area, but for the time being we're good. So as you can see, I've taken the walls off. So these are our old walls down here. Good news is they just popped right off. So the waxing works. I've then gone along with the fane saw. These little chaps, whatever you want to call it, little vibro saw. Trimmed off all the furry edge, not particularly straight as you can see. My cutting isn't the straightest, especially that bit over there. Hello. Doesn't matter though, this is only the flange for the mould, makes no difference whatsoever. A little bit of tidying up to do, but that is still cooking. I can feel it's nice and hot, so that's still working its way through. So the next job to do is then to put our second wall in, which is going to run down here, down to that corner, and the same on the other side. Moving on. Getting this front section done. So we see where I've built our walls on the sides. This bit has been a nightmare. An absolute nightmare. Look at this top edge here. See where all this glass is over the top? Why did you do it like that, James? Why didn't you square it off nicely like you've done all the other ones? Well, in an ideal world, you don't ever want to be fiberglassing on a vertical because you're using resin and stuff, and obviously it runs down, right? You can see where this is going already. And you should always wet your area down first. Paintbrush or something, get in there, get it nice and wet, roll your mat out, get that nice and wet, and then offer it up and poke it around. Didn't do that. I just mixed up a load of resin, stuck my mat on, so I'm trying to keep you out of the light, and it completely went to shit. Basically it just started sliding down. No matter how much I poked and prodded it, it just kept sliding down. I kept trying to put it back up again. Didn't work. None of it worked. It ended up just falling apart in my hands, and I had my bare hands, and I was trying to stick it back up my bare hands. My hands were on fire all night from resin and fiberglass in my hands. I managed to rescue it, but it was a nightmare. Next time, turn it up vertical and do it there, or wet it all down with a brush first and then put it up. Right, that's 2 layers in the front. That's good to go, and we've gel coated both sides. That's our nice thick gloopy green gel coat gone on that side. That's yesterday, so that side is good to go, and we've just done the other side. So we're making progress. So last thing to do now, I say last thing to do, it's another like week's work. 2 layers of glass on both the sides. Drill the holes through our flanges to get our locating bolts in, and that's it. It's weeks later, I don't know. This has been going on for so long now, I've completely lost track of time. But we've just put the second coating on this side. So that is still wet, as you can see. So once that's gone, we are nearly there. Exciting times. The only thing I have got to do, I don't know if I mentioned it yet or not. If I have, my apologies. This has been filmed over weeks and months. I can never remember what I said in the last iteration. The only other thing I need to do is to do the inside of the arches. Now, in an ideal world, when you're fiberglass and you come down an arch, you want to roll it back underneath so you have some depth to your arch. Of course, the problem with it is that gravity doesn't like to let you fiberglass things upside down. It just wants to go and peel off again, as can be seen on this side. Before I went home, that was up underneath. I thought, yep, sorted. Came back in the morning, and it's done that. So I've got to cut that off and actually get it stuck onto the bit it's meant to be stuck onto. But that's what happens, and again, as you go around the arch, I've tried doing it around the arch, and it's been an absolute nightmare. And it's upside down. So obviously when you're doing the edges here, you're better off turning it upside down, because then you've got gravity working for you. However, the problem with fiberglass mat is that it does not like going around 90-degree bends. You can roll it as much as you like, put as much resin in it as you like, and it still doesn't like to go around bends properly, and you end up getting bubbles in it. See this big bubble here? But it's easier to deal with that afterwards, as I found, by getting a small syringe with some resin in it and squirting it in, than it is to spend the next hour sit here with a roller going over this. Because the problem with the roller is the more you push it with a roller, the more you push the resin out of it. So it's sort of counterproductive. And again, same thing, huge bubble here. But again, same thing. Drill a hole in the bottom, drill a hole in the top, resin in a syringe from the bottom, fill up, push the air out, a little bit of plasticine over the hole, job done. The whole point to this is just literally to get some width in the arch. Just so I've got this amount of depth in the arch, because obviously that's going to give that panel a lot more rigidity when it's done. And as it's already got fiberglass inner arches, I'll take those off, because I'm not keeping the bonnet when this is done. So once this is all done, I get the mould off, plonk, and it's done, hopefully, fingers crossed. I'll just cut these arches out and bond those into my new bonnet. The metal work, I don't think I'll keep that, I'll probably just bin it. I don't think it's any good to me. Someone was asking about the lifting bars at the front. I'll probably keep those, I might stick them on eBay, don't know. So yeah, we are getting near the end. Got our return edges on. We'll let that go off. I'll get another layer over that, and then we are good to go. And then we get the fun part, which is beating it with a mallet, putting wedges into it, and trying to pray that it separates. And I've probably said it 1,000 times already. Hopefully it will separate, but it might not. If it doesn't, it could all have been a wasted adventure. That would be bad, as I've been doing it since October, and it's now the end of April. But that being said, I only do half hour here and there. I stay after work for half an hour, 45 minutes, put some glass on. On the weekends I come down, do a few hours. So it's not like I've been doing it all day every day. If I've been doing it all day every day, I could have had it done in probably a couple of months. So it's just a spare time project. But yeah, nice to know we're getting to the end of it now. It seems like it's been going on for a very long time. But yeah, we'll see. So next step will literally be, I won't bother filming anymore. The next bit we see will be us trying to wrestle it out of the mould and see if it actually comes out. Fingers crossed! Right, last bit. Sides are off, front is off. Last one is the scoop. I think she's ready to crack, so give her a whack. That's it, that's gone. Right, pair of hands. Oh yes. Okay. Yeah, if we stand it up a minute, just other way. Drop that end down if we can. Perfect. Not bad. So we've got some grabbing on this side where it's taking the filler with it, and a little bit under the scoop. Needs a bit of polishing, but on the whole, not too bad. Entirely my fault, I hasten to add, because this should be nicely keyed for this paint layer to stick to it, and it ain't. It's shiny, which means I didn't key it properly, hence why it's taking this with it in the mould. However, that can be rectified. I can polish out the gel coat, get it looking lovely, it'll be fine. So, 4 parts to the mould, done. So that's it guys, that's all that's left. As you can see, she's taken some filler out in some places there. And the worst of it back here, which I was blaming myself for, isn't actually my fault. The original Bonnet when I started was red, not white. Which means that whoever painted it red was the one who didn't do the prep properly, because the under layer is white and it's the white that's smooth. So, you know, I'm not blaming myself anymore. It wasn't my fault, alright? But again, we are 90% there with our moulds. It's not going to be too much to finish these up. Oops, light correction. There we go. So those are our 4 parts, 2 sides. And as you can see, some of them, this is where the fillers come with it. But again, it should pick off quite easily. I'll go around this, pick all the filler off, and then just, even if I have to put a little bit more gel coat in there, wet sand it, polish it, it'll be fine. It's better than what I thought. I was very, very worried about it coming off alright, and the top of it came off lovely. So no qualms with that, it's really just the sides. But that's it, so obviously now we just need to bolt it all back together again, flip it upside down and then start laying fiberglass in, which is the easy bit. Because all I've got to do is clean that up, wax it, use a bit of plasticine just to fill in the thick gaps you've got, and then, like I say, a couple of layers of wax, and then gel coat matte glass into that, pop it out, and hey presto, you got yourself a fiberglass bonnet. So, that's enough. It's a big weight off my mind. I've got the mould, it's done. If that original bonnet with the holes in it is of any use to anyone wants it to use as a base for a project or anything, let me know. Because if it's still here in a month or two, I'm just going to smash it up, cut it into bits and put it into bin bags, because, you know, I don't need it now. Now I've got the mould, I don't need it. So if it is any use to you, you want it, let me know. You'll have to come and get it from Cornwall, obviously. You know, I ain't going to deliver it on my head for you. So until such time, as always, thank you for watching, much appreciated, and I will see you guys next time, which will be the last one, maybe, 1 or 2, when I can get my new bonnet in, and then once that one's come out, I can start putting all the lights, the grille, get it mounted on the car, and we'll see what it looks like. I'm looking forward to it now, so thank you as always, do appreciate it, see you soon.